hello, and welcome to this edition of our Limitless Live. Super excited to be on today, particularly because of my co host. I just enjoy this guy, right? We just met as fellow room tilters with Limitless Minds, and in the time that we've spent together on these lives, I've truly felt transformed by the way he shows up. So, I'm Karla Alghedo. I'm an executive wellness mindset coach. I hail from Houston, Texas, but today I am sitting in upstate New York and super excited to be outside in this beautiful weather. You could probably hear a bird that wants to share this live with me, but instead, I'm sharing this live with my friend, Hubert Payne. Welcome, Hubert.
Hey, Karla, what's up?
How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great.
Good. Okay, Lane, I want to know what LFG is. Welcome, welcome. Want to know what LFG is. I know what KFG is from Coach Krista, but you got to have to break down LFG. So, how's it going over there, Hubert?
I'm great. It's a beautiful day here in Florida. I love hearing the birds in the background over there. Same environment here, so I'm excited about our conversation today.
Love it. I tell you what's different about this environment, right? It's not quite as gorgeous and sunny as Orlando.
Hmm.
It is 86 degrees outside, but they've been getting some torrential rain in this area. So when we were flying in from Houston, we were getting this national weather advisory to say, hey, if you want to change your flight, please do, because there's this flooding that's happening from Washington, D.C. all the way up to Boston. And then the flight was right on time, nothing happened, and we're here. And we're
Yeah,
able to make impact, and I love the fact that we just stepped out on faith, made it happen, and we're here. So if it starts raining while I'm on this live, don't feel sorry for me. I'm undercover
yeah,
over my head, but I wanted to be in nature because it's absolutely beautiful out here.
yeah. I get
Yeah.
that. I understand that.
So, welcome, Martin. Welcome, Natasha. Love it, Lane. Let's friggin' go. Got it.
Yeah, yeah,
LFG. Let's friggin' go. Okay.
yeah. That's one version of
I love
it.
it. So, one of the things we were talking about as we were preparing for this live is the fact that you are in Orlando, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you did recently make that move. So I would love to talk about that in context
Mhm,
of us embracing positive change, right?
mhm.
On this Transformational Tuesday. Um, Obviously, the theme is transforming, which involves change, which sounds amazing if
Right.
you are on the butterfly side of it, but like super scary if you're on the caterpillar side,
That's right.
you
That's
know, not knowing exactly what to expect.
yeah,
So I'm curious about your recent transformation and how that's impacted you.
yeah. So I've actually been in Orlando for 4 or 5 months at this point. My family and I. We left Nashville. Been living in Nashville for the past 20 years. And it was the first time in my life that I made a decision to move, not based in where I was going to play football in college. That's how I got to Tennessee. And then everything after that was based in where can I play music and build a music career. So I did that for 20 years. And for the first time, my wife and I decided to move to Orlando, Florida. And there's just not much of a music community here, right? So that brought a ton of anxiety. And I realized last week, man, I've never really came out and said or posted I moved, and I thought it was important because in my spirit I kept feeling like I was hiding and not trusting my own process and embracing a new territory. Now I know anybody who knows me. Yes, I've been touring and playing drums the last 15, 20 years, but the last 5 or 7, I've been really focusing on building a coaching skill set and trying to serve people in a deeper way. And in this season, I'm more positioned to help more people than I ever have been. And it doesn't, on one side, it feels scary and huge and like, man, what have I done? But really, I'm positioned to make the most impact I've ever had, right? And I started seeing the power in that once I, put my flag up and said, "This is where I am," and
Mm,
I'm gonna embrace the opportunity. I'm gonna stop looking at it through the lens of fear. I'm gonna just embrace the opportunity I have, and try to make the best of it. So um, this conversation is near and dear to my heart about embracing positive change, because I think a lot of us, if we put the right glasses on, we'll see, man, I'm exactly where I've been building to be.
Mm,
Feel scary. It might feel like I'm losing, because that inner critic is being really loud. But I think if a lot of us just went to park, right, and took some deep breaths, we realize, man, I'm where I need to be, and I'm gonna
mhm.
embrace this change.
Hmm. Oh, wow. That resonates with the whole like physically moving
Hmm.
your family, your life. As a working professional, you've built a network, you've built a community that supports you, especially when you have kids. You've got people who are helping catch balls and, pick somebody up or, sit with them while you go do something, whatever. And when you move to a new city, all of that's got to be reworked, re-networked.
Yeah.
So we moved from Washington D.C. to Houston
Mm,
6 years ago. This August will make 6 years, and I still, in a lot of ways, feel like I'm putting legs up under myself.
mm,
In this new city. As a working professional, as a community member, all of that.
hmm.
So what I love about what you said is that I staked my place.
Yeah,
I did that on purpose with intention. And in some ways, this coming out process,
that's right.
of
Right.
going online and announcing to the world, I am here.
Hmm.
And it's not temporary, it's not transitional. This is my place.
Hmm.
And to me, there's a whole mindset thing that happens when you make that type of declaration.
Yeah, yeah. It's huge. It's huge. And I've as I started putting a lens on this process, and where I've walked with people in these types of seasons, and like when I'm trying to model success, I got a question for you, Karla. I found this to be really interesting. How would you define grace? Like,
Oh my gosh.
what are the, like, the ingredients? Like, how would you define grace?
Right. Short version, unmerited favor,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you are getting a pass. Oh, you're getting the fast pass at the water park, at Universal Parks. Right?
Hmm.
And you didn't pay for it.
That's right.
You didn't expect it.
Love that.
You might not have even known it was an option,
Mm-hmm.
right? But all of a sudden, you're getting on all the rides first
Mm-hmm.
without waiting, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like completely unmerited favor.
That's right. Unmerited favor. So I love that. Every time I looked up a definition, or I thought about how I define it, um, another ingredient, always kept coming up with, like, man, it's like, I don't really deserve this, but
Mhm,
I accept it. And I feel like when we're in this season of trying to accept positive change, a lot of us don't open the door to receiving the grace to ourselves.
mm,
Right. So if if we open that door, we can then build and start understanding that, man, I got access to this grace, right?
mhm,
I deserve this, right? I've grinded, and I've worked, and I've sacrificed, and people around me have sacrificed for me to do what I'm trying to do, and I'm a just accept this grace and take it in, even though I might not feel like I deserve it. I think it's a
mhm,
huge part to embracing positive change.
mhm. Love that. So why don't we feel like we deserve it? And I talked about this idea of unmerited favor. Unmerited, built into that is this idea of not deserving, right?
Mhm.
But you're talking about having that grace and like you deserve it. You have worked for it. You have earned the opportunity, right, to
Mhm.
walk in this space, right?
Mhm.
So in that version of grace, and having really done the work, made the sacrifices to be in this position, why do we end up feeling like we don't deserve it?
So great question. What I find, and what I think about this is the role that our inner critic plays in
Mhm.
performance and development. A
Mhm.
lot of high achievers, the inner critic is very loud. Do this better. Accountability, looking for mistakes or ways to grow, looking for where we fell short and we need to kind of pick it up. looking to close the gap, looking to sell more, do more. And that inner critic is, it serves us, right? So we don't want to get rid of it. But I think right sizing that inner critic leaves more energy to resource other parts of us, like love, right, and acceptance, and more confidence, right. So it's having the ability to kind of change state and say, I see my inner critic, I hear the role, I appreciate how it's helped me build, but in this particular season, I want to turn down that voice and create more room for acceptance when I'm in my park state. If that
Mm-hmm.
makes so
Absolutely.
when I'm parking, I don't need my critic, right? I don't need it as much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of just looking around. I'm taking a deep breath, and I'm also appreciating. I keep going back to, it's huge for me to understand. Like, man, I wasn't the only one working for this.
Mm.
That's why I love inviting my family to shows when I'm playing different places. I want them to come and see not only my success, but what they poured into me. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, show, come hang out backstage. Hey, I'm in this city. Come, you poured into me. This is my opportunity to kind of like let you see like the seeds you sowed. They meant something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that inner critic sometimes will blow all that up.
Mm.
You trying to play offense all the time. And when we're always playing offense, it's hard to get back to neutral, right? It's hard to get back to neutral. So understanding what is the voice of the inner critic, what are the messages that are coming out, and do I have the ability to right size it and assist them with all my other resources and the things that I believe about life and the way that I try to show up in relationship, right sizing it and then going from there. Well, I think
Mm-hmm.
that was back.
So this allusion to the parked car, right?
Yeah.
I could definitely hear the inner critic being like, dude, let's go. Put your foot on the accelerator, right? Take
Hmm.
it out of park and let's hit the gas and drive 97 miles per hour,
Hmm.
down this highway as fast as we possibly can, right? That tend to be the incentive. Go, 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 move forward, right? So talk to
Hmm.
me about the power of the park, the
Ooh, I
power of
love
the
it.
parked
Power of the
car.
park. Come on, Karla. Come on. Power of the park. Come on. I love it. Well, it opens the door to mindfulness, right? It opens the
Mhm,
door to being as present as possible. It opens the door to being able to receive love and grace
mhm,
and and realize where we have some confidence, right? Because we talked about this before, but if confidence is the memory of success, and you never sit down to evaluate your memory, where's your confidence coming from,
mhm,
right? And that's the power of the park,
mhm,
right? Um, the power of the park, it enables you to kind of organize your resources, pull your team together, recruit who you need to, realize where you might be bleeding, where you can stop it.
mhm,
It's so powerful. If you think about even a sports analogy, if it's 2 minutes left in the game and the quarterback's kind of running the offense, the best quarterbacks are present in that moment. They are where their feet are. Um,
mm,
they're parked. They're parked, and they can say, "Oh, okay, this guy's going to blitz. This is my player is in this position. I know this guy's ability." When you park, you got more resources to just assess the situation and put together a better plan or control your state, right? So
mhm,
it's also important to understand that we're talking about different things. Sometimes it's about what's my plan, activating the plan. A lot of times I find in coaching, it's about controlling your state. Do I have control to show up with the proper state? Um, am I aggressive? Do I have a really calm state right now where I can kind of sit back and listen with all my energy?
mhm,
Can I explain my position? Do I have the proper state to be able to communicate my needs in relationship or at work or with our whatever your craft is? So the power of the park. I love that. I love that. Give me a
Hey,
shirt.
you're the hey, I love that. You're the one who introduced the concept. I'm just the word woman,
Yeah,
that's just what I do. But I
yeah.
love the comments. So Lane was talking about his personal his personal motto, right? Live with
Mhm.
grit and grace. And uh, Tanya says she loves that butterfly caterpillar metaphor as we're talking about embracing positive
Mhm.
change and going through a transformation. And then Krista said, the higher we climb, the louder that inner critic voice can get.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
see you, I hear you, but I don't need you. It
That's
sounds like
right.
she's trying to tame that inner critic.
Mhm. Mhm.
um, so this idea of sort of like staking your claim in this new place and fully embracing this positive change, right? We have to confess that it's not easy,
It is
right?
not easy.
So, you've been in Orlando for almost 5 months.
Mhm.
You've now come out and tell the world, I've
Right.
made
Right.
right, I've made this change. But in those 4 to 5 months, like, you have the perfect scenario, the strongest network, and complete comfort. In Orlando, like, you're not missing a beat, or are you still kind of hitting a few road bumps, in a new neighborhood?
Let's talk about the pain. Let's talk about the pain. Here's what I realized that I wasn't really tracking. With any growth, there's going to be some grieving. There's going
Mm,
to be some grieving. And I think I was running from a lot of the grieving. I spent my whole adult life chasing music, put
mm,
myself in situations around the best players, playing drums all day, every day, studying music, making music, talking about music. Um, I use, I always talk about what we eat. I ate music all day. I listened to it. I watch videos. I put myself into. I have to play drums physically every day, and I did all these things. And honestly, I knew a few years ago with a family my size, I got to be number one. I don't want to have to tour when I'm 45, 50. I don't want to have to be gone for 150 shows a year. So I've been transitioning for a long time, but there was a grieving that came with my accepting the new opportunity. And the
mm,
grieving was, I'm not a touring musician. That's not my first priority anymore.
mm,
And without naming that, I saw somebody wrote it in the chat. Without naming it, it had a lot of power to just throw a lot of shame on me
mhm,
in the dark. It threw a lot of doubt and worry, and it was preventing me from reaching out to certain people and driving as fast as I can. And what's funny is, as soon as I made a big old Facebook post and just walked into the arena of my fear and just put my flag up, people start reaching out to me. Hey, Hubert, I'm in Orlando.
mhm,
Here, man, I know about this. I got to introduce you to this person. And I'm like, wow, wow. Um, really accepting the grieving process was huge to accepting all the great things that are going to come from me being here and
mhm,
being able to and build. Like, I'm in Lake Nona, which is, I wish I could say it was super intentional, but it was not. I'm in the Silicon Valley of the South, where they wanted to be a
mhm,
club, right? They wanted to be this futuristic, forward-thinking wellness place for athletes, and just the community is all built around wellness. And I made a mistake and moved here, and that's providence, right? That's providence. I didn't know, um, but this positive change definitely required me grieving my prior life in a sense.
mhm,
And I think a
mhm,
lot of us, we're rightfully scared of grief.
mhm,
It's a big, scary thing. How do you grieve? What are the steps? Um, why am I grieving? I think a lot of people are walking around with grief, and you don't even realize that you need to name it and you need to sit with it and allow it to do its thing and process through it.
I love it. So you just said grief is a big part of growth.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that nugget, like, hit for people,
Hmm.
because that is so real. That's the part that many of us want to avoid as we're embracing positive change and we're trying to have this fabulous transformational Tuesday. We really just like to avoid the hard parts. We don't want to deal with the grief part. We
That's
don't
right.
want to acknowledge that that's there. Um, but it's real, right? So Coach Krista says, beautiful. Sometimes we need to mourn the loss of who we thought we were meant to be
Mm,
to embrace who we're becoming.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. So I was
That's
just
real.
giving, I
That's
was
real.
just giving a keynote last week to a fabulous group of folks in a pharmaceutical
Mhm.
company, and to talk about broke mindset, or what I call home based thinking. I started throwing out these phrases from our negative mindset to see if it resonated with people, right? Sort of
Mhm.
like, let's be honest, do some of these phrases resonate with you? And as I was saying the phrases to kind of pull people out, break down some barriers, and bring them into what I was trying to share, my eyes started burning.
Mm,
I'm like in this virtual keynote, I'm on stage, full spotlight, and my eyes start giving me the "you're about to cry" signal, right?
mm,
And it was just like truly amazing to see in real time, where I don't normally cry. I'm in performance mode. I'm doing
mhm,
what I do, and I love what I do, right?
mhm,
But when I was saying those negative things out loud, right, in order to help my audience, I
mhm.
had a physical reaction to it, right?
Wow.
Which was, mental, emotional, and spiritual all at the same time. And I had no control over it.
Wow.
Um, and then I saw this wonderful post about how when we feel like crying, it's our body's attempt to rebalance us.
Mm,
Something
mm.
is out of balance and we need
Yeah,
to come back into balance. So, this is me connecting to this idea of grieving and how we would prefer to
yeah,
avoid it, right?
yeah.
And then we often defer it and delay it, and it
Yep.
goes and hides somewhere in our body, right? And it
Mhm,
starts messing things up
mhm,
until we actually deal with it. Is it didn't go away. It was just energy that was transferred, right? But
yeah,
it's still
yeah.
there.
That's the thing.
It's
Yep,
still very much there,
yep,
and if we can tap into it and do the work on it, then we can actually move forward in our transformation and embracing this positive change.
yeah,
But as we continue to suppress it, right, it unwittingly sabotages our ability to fully move forward. So I wanted to drop, if you're avoiding the cry, right? If you're avoiding the cry, go
come
ahead and
on.
schedule some time and make it happen, because
Mhm,
it's extraordinarily powerful. Your body
mhm.
is doing what it's supposed to do. Whether it's a happy cry, sad cry, angry cry, frustrated cry, exuberant cry, whatever it is, right? Your body is doing what it's supposed to do in an effort to rebalance you,
That's
right?
right.
And so many times, going back to this idea of grieving so you can grow,
Mhm.
you've got to let that energy out
Yes.
so that you can actually power up, into the greatness that you're supposed to be in.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Here's the thing that I've noticed about grief. From working at on-site workshops in Tennessee, where it is a place you may have. It's a wellness retreat facility, and you may have a couple who's going through divorce, and they go through like this 3 day intensive. You may have a couple who lost a child, and they go through a 3 day intensive. You have people who are overworked, people who face public shame, and what I see from grief, the opportunity we have is, if you think about it, anytime you have loss or you're grieving, on the other side of you feeling it to heal it is who you really are. You don't have any energy for anything that doesn't point to the deepest real convictions of you, right? So on the other side of doing this work and diving into it, you become closer to molding to your authenticity, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
when we talked about that inner critic, and it's like you initially want to say, well, I don't need you. Or you're thinking like, man, that was my old life. But we build from faith to faith, right?
Mm.
Not that I even know, and I noticed even in my own language, I said, well, I'm not a touring drummer anymore, but I am a touring drummer. It's just that it's not my priority anymore, right?
Mhm.
So it's not
Mhm.
that I'm not what I used to be. I'm just accepting building onto my roles, right?
Yes.
So it's not losing it or throwing away the work you've done. You're just graduating, right?
Yes.
You didn't just because you go to high school doesn't mean I was never a middle school student. You just graduated.
Right. Right. Right.
And stepping into this work, it really is such an amazing opportunity we have to walk closer into our authenticity. And that doesn't always feel great, but that's the healthiest part of us.
That's so good.
Yeah,
Walking closer
yeah,
into our authenticity,
yeah.
walking closer into the core of who we are.
That's right.
And you
That's
said
right.
that's all we have energy for
Yeah,
is to
that's
perform
it.
our core.
So
Wow.
yeah, so imagine when we lose a job. You lose a job, man. I didn't expect that. Your next steps are going to be, well, what do I want to do next, right?
Mhm.
And that what do I want to do next conversation is going to come with a lot of what I don't want to do that again. I got more clarity around what I don't want, and now I
Mhm.
got an opportunity to kind of like really hone in and draw a perfect picture of what lines
Mhm.
up with my values and my skill set, because I'm feeling it to heal it, and I'm embracing the change. I'm allowing myself to grieve, and I understand this is an opportunity, right?
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
that's why I love this conversation, and I thank you, Karla.
No, it's good. It's so good. So Tanya says, sometimes while we're trying to avoid Coach Tanya, by the way, my girl, my twin over there. Sometimes while we're trying to avoid grief, pain, and fear, we end up missing out on the greatest
Mhm.
joys, growth, and all moments in
Love that.
life. Yeah, absolutely. And Lane's like, hey, I hear success leave clues. Lane is always reminding us of the original text. He's going
Hmm.
back. It's like,
Yeah, I love
what
that.
you just said is a part of the original text,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
including our bodies telling us when we need to recenter. I love that so much. I have to make sure I draw that second point, right? From being in that stage and feeling those tears, right? So,
Hmm.
not just reminding us to grieve and to take time for the cry, right? But also, we can think negative thoughts. They're going to come. They're just going
Yes.
to come sometimes, right?
Hmm.
We can do everything we can to try to keep them from coming or deal with them when they come. But what we absolutely have control over is whether we let them come out of our mouths, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And Trevor Moawad talks about this, just, the multiples greater impact of
Hmm.
having negative stuff come out of our mouths, right? So, literally,
Hmm.
as I was saying those things to try to help my audience, it didn't change the fact that I was saying them and my mind, body, and spirit was hearing them. And then I
Yeah.
had a physical reaction, you
Hmm.
know? And so, when we are trying to embrace positive change, not only do we have to grieve the challenge of going through it, but we need to go ahead and bury the negative conversation.
Love that. Well,
Bury the words that
yeah,
come of our mouths that are not consistent with the change and transformation that we're trying to have.
yeah. Like Trevor said, don't say stupid. I won't say the last
Stuff
word, but
out your mouth.
yeah, don't say stupid stuff. Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. But
Exactly.
sometimes it's not necessarily stupid. It's uninformed, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
have the information or awareness to say, wait a minute, it wasn't a really, I didn't realize that was a negative statement, but it doesn't point to my values of understanding
Mm-hmm.
now grieving is a part of this thing. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have bad hearts, right? Because we're not broken people. We may have issues and concerns, but we're not broken. We don't need to be fixed. So um, reframing is important. I love that, and bringing it back to language, and that's where it
Mm-hmm.
starts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, that was like the fastest 30 minutes ever, and our time is up. I'm so grateful to everyone who joined us here live. If you catch the replay, drop a hashtag replay and make sure you are following Limitless. Make sure you are following Limitless Minds and that you're here for our next Limitless Live, same time tomorrow, 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern, 10:30 in Arizona for our friend Lane. All right. Y'all have an amazing day and God bless you on your wellness journey. Take care. And don't forget to download Club Limitless app.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Take care, y'all.
Thank y'all.